Well, hello, everyone. I'm John Seroka with Seroka Brand Development and also the Mortgage Technology and Marketing Committee Chair. And welcome to our webinar today, Marketing in the Age of Micro Moments. Ladies and gentlemen, did you know that 90% of cell phone users have used their phone to make progress towards a long-term goal that requires multiple steps, like buying a home while out and about? Well, consumers and their search behavior is moving towards an on-demand experience because of the quality of answers they know they can get in an instant, especially while using Google's voice search. The times when consumers have that I want to know right now moment, where they pick up their phone and conduct a search, is a micro moment. And these are moments where you as a company have the opportunity for real growth, provided that you know how to provide the right in-the-moment information and then have the wherewithal to convert them. As an agency, we've been helping our clients understand and reach people during these very important opportunities for driving new leads and conversions that can't be ignored in the current environment. So today, we have three industry experts to talk about how micro moments work on the ground. You're going to learn what micro moments are, when they occur, why they're important, how to market to them, how to drive leads and conversions from them. So with us today, I am thrilled to present to you three industry experts, including Kamran Bakhtiari. He is the VP of Marketing at loanDepot. We have Dean Sioukas, the co-founder and Chief Technology Officer at Magilla Loans, and Rocky Foroutan, the CEO of LenderHomePage. So by way of some background, this webinar is a production of the Mortgage Technology and Marketing Committee. The committee was formed to support the development and dissemination of new technologies and marketing strategies that the mortgage industry needs to embrace. As we go through this, please submit your questions, and I will direct them to the right individual as they come up, or you can wait until the Q&A time at the end. With that, over to you, Kamran.
Thank you, John, for the very warm welcome. I'm humbled to be part of this panel and to present to our audience on Google's concept of micro moments. As Vice President of Marketing for loanDepot, I am responsible for leading branded demand generation. Additionally, I'm practitioner faculty teaching within Pepperdine's MBA program within data science-related courses. I hope to offer valuable insights to our audience from my lens as a practitioner in both marketing and data analytics. I hope to help stimulate ideas for improved marketing strategies and provoke thoughtful discussion among our esteemed panel. While I will begin my discussions on micro moments from the perspective of customer acquisition and analytics, my peers on this panel will drill deeper into the contextual research around micro moments, in addition to showing real, tangible examples within Google's search engine results page. While many of you are familiar with loanDepot, I would like to just take a moment to summarize the organization using a few numbers. loanDepot is currently the 5th largest retail lender, having funded over $135 billion in just 8 years. Other brands in the top slots include Wells Fargo, Quicken, Bank of America, and JP Morgan Chase. loanDepot has catapulted into the top rankings in just 8 years. Many of these other organizations have been at this for decades. For example, Wells Fargo and Quicken Loans have been operating for around 157 and 24 years, longer than loanDepot. Why is this important to our conversation today? loanDepot has been a disruptive force leading the charge within the fintech space and is a trailblazer in customer acquisition strategies to support its accelerated growth. I'd like to begin our conversation around micro moments by exploring its evolution. This concept was initially introduced by Think with Google in 2015. 4 years prior to that, in 2011, Google's thought leadership team introduced the concept of zero moment of truth, or ZMOT. While there are subtle differences between the two concepts, Google ultimately was reacting to the inherent changes in the customer journey shaped by the explosive growth of smartphones and mWeb technologies. While ZMOT helped advertisers reach consumers in early stages of the consideration process, or the zero moment, micro moments was intended to help advertisers better position themselves within actionable moments. These actionable moments represent a better opportunity for marketers to drive mid and lower funnel conversion versus influencing awareness. Ultimately, this is a win-win for both advertisers looking to drive demand generation campaigns, and for Google seeking to align its advertising platforms with the goals of its advertisers, such as loanDepot. As we will see in the upcoming slide, the rollout of these initiatives on behalf of Google dovetails nicely with the timeline of the rapidly changing landscape of consumer behavior correlated to trends experienced within mobile phone technology. In 2012, global mobile phone penetration had reached 87%. More importantly, we can see that adoption in developed nations had reached circa 100%. Also at this point, we were seeing that mobile web and desktop web usage trends were converging on the time series chart. In fact, in 2016, mobile web use crossed over desktop web use, and the gap has widened since. Furthermore, it is important to note that consumers were using cell phones 79% of the time while shopping. These strong consumer trends were met with conflicting experiences by top brands, as 79% of large online retailers did not have a mobile optimized site to maximize on the experiences that consumers demanded in 2012. Google's introduction of Zmod and micromoments around this time frame was a direct response to the disparity between consumer behavior and the digital experiences provided by organizations. While consumers turn to Google to help answer a wide spectrum of questions, Google's introduction of micromoments was a demarcation specifically relating to intent-rich moments when a person turns to a device to act on a need to know, to go, to do, or to buy. These 4 moments should be met with advertisers: 1, anticipating the intent and targeting users either via organic or paid advertising; 2, providing a useful and relevant digital experience that fulfills the intent; and 3, maximizing these experiences across a wide range of technology and digital channels. While these are the very foundational components of marketing, i.e. targeting, segmenting, and positioning, 79% of large retail advertisers were having a challenge keeping up with rapid change. Perhaps the simplest analogy of demand generation is a mousetrap and cheese. As marketers, we use creative messaging to target consumers and use a website as a means to draw a consumer further into the acquisition funnel, either by placing a phone call, completing a landing page form fill, or engaging with relevant content. With advancements in technology and a consumer's tendency to use the internet and the smartphone during micromoments, it has become increasingly easier for advertisers to anticipate and target the right audience. At the point of entry, the digital experience needs to match the consumer intent. This is delivered with the right messaging and the content to ensure the consumer remains engaged and fulfills the intended goal of the advertiser. A consumer should be guided through the customer journey through design elements within the user experience. Here we have 3 examples of mortgage landing pages based on research conducted by Click-Through. Going back to our analogy of a mousetrap, I would like to point out how effective these pages can be in converting traffic. It is important to note that the findings are not based on the opinions of loanDepot nor CMBA, but rather that of Click-Through based on their assessment of best practices for seizing on the opportunity to convert a customer during a critical micro-moment of consumers searching for an interest-only mortgage. Here we can see design elements that work and also learn from opportunities for improvement. In the first example, a consumer searched for an interest-only mortgage. However, the messaging on the page makes no references to an interest-only mortgage. Second, design elements such as arrows could help direct a consumer to the drop-downs in the page. This is where the consumer starts the form fill process. Third, a visual cue is used to direct the consumer to the continue button. However, the arrow is lost as it blends in with the rest of the page. Fourth, the call to action of continue is good, but could be stronger by saying click for my free quote. In the second example in the middle, the busyness of the landing page distracts the consumer from the intended goal of completing the form. And in the last example, there's messaging aligning with the search for interest-only mortgages. This is done really nicely. However, the amount of copy below can disorient a user. The use of bullet points can make this more clear and concise. Furthermore, a phone number on this page can allow a consumer an alternative to convert offline as opposed to the form fill. To summarize, here are a few elements to help build a great user experience that maximizes conversion for landing pages. It is important to build relevancy by pairing the headline with a user intent, often identified through their search query or based on signals within display campaigns. In this example created by loanDepot, a user who searches for mortgages in Seattle has a highly relevant user experience with a Seattle skyline in the background, the local weather in the top right, and a headline matching intent. Additionally, focusing on minimal keystrokes up front in the user experience helps drive a consumer through with less friction. A consumer most likely has their hand on their mouse, and using design that avoids moving their hand to the keyboard up front helps remove some of the friction that increases bounce rates. Carousels are common landing page formats within the mortgage industry that help achieve this goal. This page could be improved with a stronger CTA and making the headline more prominent than the subheadline. Marketers oftentimes can use their experiences to hypothesize on campaign and design elements that will reach optimal results. However, the ultimate test is to implement and let consumers' actions drive the ultimate verdict. We often are surprised in champion-challenger tests that consumers do not necessarily react the way we expect them to. The great news for digital marketers is that data is ubiquitous. Data is collected on nearly every impression, every click, every touchpoint, and every web interaction. It is up to marketers to leverage the data as a feedback loop and to guide their iterative process for improvement. As a digital marketer, the amount of data we have access to oftentimes can be overwhelming. Similar to a 747 cockpit, there are many gauges, metrics, and dials for us to scan, analyze, and react to. While the sheer volume of data can present challenges, savvy marketers are able to disseminate data from campaigns, creative, customer intelligence, multivariate testing, web analytics, and offline data to crystallize key insights and, more importantly, take action. A force multiplier in the process is the speed in which organizations are able to react to the data. With a marketer typically working on many different platforms and systems horizontally across the channels, i.e. SEO, SEM, email marketing, etc., and vertically through the transaction lifecycle funnel, it is important to have a process in place to stitch the vast amount of data that exists across disparate data sources. To truly get a 360-degree view of our customer and marketing investments, organizations need to be able to measure from impression to revenue. Gartner conducted a study and concluded that it was expected that the technical budget of a CMO would surpass that of a CIO. Here we see a few examples of the many different platforms that a marketer works in to be able to put the pieces of the puzzle together for full visibility of marketing performance. A consumer does not work via a single channel, so each channel will have fragments and clues that when threaded together will paint a broader picture. Also important is the democratization of data. All constituents within the marketing organization, from a graphic designer to media buyer to web developers to CRM marketers, should be able to access, analyze, and make data-driven decisions. True enablement of all constituents is achieved when everyone has access to full funnel and campaign metrics without having to build out an army of marketing analysts. Taking the data collected on a customer and delivering relevant experiences in both creative and web experiences help drive optimized performance. The fragmented data landscape that contains valuable customer information includes, but is not limited to, the lead management platform, the loan origination system, customer demographic information from third-party providers, proprietary lead and intent scores. The insights within these systems can be injected into a user's cookie using a data management platform or DMP and further drive personalized messaging through dynamic creative optimization or DCO. This full spectrum solution helps enrich media buys on demand-side platforms by not only personalizing messaging, but also allowing media buyers to develop relevant segments to traffic. As a leader in the fintech space, loanDepot introduced Mello to help customers interact wherever, whenever, and however customers want. A loanDepot customer can take traditional approach via direct and retail channels and/or leverage Mello across all different technology platforms. This customer experience is truly amazing. I now will hand off the presentation to Dustin, who will drive our discussion on micromoments further based on his perspectives.
Thank you, Kamran. This is Dean Sioukas, and I'm the CEO of Magilla Loans, and you can find us at magillaloans.com. Kamran has an amazing website, and what loanDepot's done in a short period of time is truly remarkable. And I think all the listeners can see just from Kamran's presentation how much effort goes into not only building a website, building a content-rich website, and then more importantly, maintaining that website so it remains current in a marketplace and a Google ecosystem that is constantly changing. So, you're probably wondering, why am I on the panel? What is Magilla? Magilla is an anonymous search engine for home and commercial loans that places the borrower in control. Well, why borrowers? Because I'm a borrower. I'm not a lender, never have been, and I'm not a broker. As I was an experienced borrower, a real estate developer, and I wanted a fast and easy way to search and compare loans from various lenders without placing my private information on the internet. So a friend of mine, Chris Meyer, and I were having lunch discussing how each of us gets loans. And as cliche as it sounds, that was our micro moment. Two people with banking relationships sitting having lunch, talking about our next move for our respective businesses, wondering who's the best lender on that particular day for our particular loans. So what did we do? We did what we all do. We go to Google. That's what we all do. Go to Google, started looking around, trying to find content, find a search engine, find something that could help us solve our personal micro moment. And when we couldn't find any website that solved our needs, which was unusual, I've always been able to find what I want on the internet. The internet's a big place. It's got a lot of variety. The two of us sat down and we literally just built our own. So we built Magilla from the borrower's perspective. So my words today, I suppose, should be taken as your customer. That's how we built this. So Magilla is 2 years old. It's 2 years in January. We started in January of 2016. Magilla has had over $5 billion of loans across its search engine comparison tool platform. And we pride ourselves on being an agnostic marketplace. Some people call us a search engine. Some people call us an agnostic marketplace. I think for purposes of today, we can look at it as one of several methods to solve borrowers' micro moment needs. How Magilla works for a borrower. Well, as borrowers, I was uncomfortable putting my private information on the internet. Not at this stage in the game, and in my case, not ever. Providing my name and social security number to a website is just something that I'm not comfortable with. So we built a website, a search engine, that doesn't require that information up front. What we do require is we provide an avenue, a platform by which borrowers can safely put a snapshot of the borrower's financial situation, a snapshot of the asset that borrower is dealing with, be it a home, a business, a $10 million office building refi, what have you. And based on that snapshot, lenders, those of you listening in, get push notifications. It's real time. Get a push notification that certain loans enter the system of a certain type with certain criteria in a certain geography. That notification is given to your loan officers as they want to receive it. It can be a text message, the oldest method that Magilla provides, all the way to an iOS or an Android app that they can just download from the store. Those lenders can then make proposals and can also ask questions of the borrowers. If they like what they see, they make a proposal. The borrower then chooses the proposals he or she likes, and for purposes that all of you understand greatly, you complete the loan off the site. So what does that sound like? Well, to me, accidentally, that sounds like a dating site, and it kind of is. We sort of built a Match.com of sorts for business and home loans. Borrowers are saying, I look like this, my interests are like this, and lenders are on the other side saying, well, this month or this quarter or this year or historically, we're looking for borrowers that look like this in this geography, and those things can change quickly in Magilla. So we've a little bit of overlap here, but how does Magilla work for a lender? Well, while built for the borrower's perspective and not being lenders ourselves, we quickly learned what our customers, big banks and community banks, had a similar problem. How do they find people like us? It's difficult. The United States is a big place. Cities are big. Heck, counties are big. Communities are big. How do you find us? Well, if I'm willing to put my profile on Magilla, then this is a win-win. The lenders can simply choose a device, desktop, mobile, tablet, what have you, and search. Search for people like me. Search for people like the family down the street that's refining their house, searching for equipment loans, what have you. It is very diverse, it's very fast, and it's very easy to use. So how it works for a lender. Lenders pay a subscription fee to Magilla. Again, this is not broker-based driven. It's set up really for subscription access. It's like a software as a service. Lenders preset their criteria. They look for borrowers that they like. They get push notifications. When those loans enter the system, they can ask questions anonymously of the borrowers. No form is perfect. Magilla's forms are updated constantly, yet we're not naive enough to think our forms are perfect. Of course they're not. The lenders can ask questions of the borrowers anonymously, similar maybe you'd see on an eBay auction. Hey, you're selling a new in the box iPhone, but the box is open. So people may ask on eBay, hey, I see the box is open. You said it's new in a box. Answer, I opened the box to take the pictures. In our case, maybe the asset's in an earthquake zone. Lender can ask, was it earthquake retrofitted? Yes. When? 2016. To the extent those questions are relevant to your loan proposal, you can ask them. Lenders are notified, again, via push notification when they're matched with a borrower, just like a dating site. And again, they leave the site after that. Magilla is not collecting K-1s, tax returns, or any of that personal information. We want that information to go directly from the borrower to you. Here's a visual. That's me. But again, I have a fake account in the system just so I can see what's going on. But you can see how a loan officer can choose business loans. If they're a home lender, choose home loans, can get pretty granular with distance from branch, state, credit score, and whatnot. This is constantly changing, and we're about to roll out a whole new set of interfaces here to give our lenders even more granularity to what they're looking for at any one given time. And this is what a search could result in. So here you see a variety of loans from multifamily in Los Angeles to new construction in San Antonio, Texas, and so on. And you can see the action buttons there are review, watch, and reject. If you reviewed it, you dig in a little deeper, which I'm not going to show you on this, but you would get even more granular with that loan. So the micro moment is being presented to you by the borrower. The borrower is looking for an answer. I'm in San Antonio, Texas. Which lender or lenders can help me? And the question is answered via that mag chart after the loans are reviewed and the proposals are made. Here we have a screen showing the taxonomy of the borrower. Obviously, as the speaker before me was mentioning, data is everywhere. And of course, as Magilla gets more robust and sees even more loans and more borrowers and more loans and can start running its algorithms on the past, it can get a better understanding of a prediction of the future. So this is a powerful tool that we're developing now that's going to help our lending partners refine what they're good at, refine their pitch of sorts to the borrowers, refine how they interact with those borrowers and how they search and are presented to those borrowers at the right time. Magilla is living at the intersection of borrower and lender meeting. And that's a powerful place to be. So why use a search engine? Well, loanDepot is an amazing company, and companies like loanDepot have put maximum effort into their websites, and they're amazing. That is an endeavor that is very difficult to do. And Magilla was built in the last couple of years. So it was built on mobile, and it was built on push notifications. It was built with SEO and SEM in mind. And that effort is constant to maintain that and to keep that going so that your brand is presented to the borrower at the right time as they're in that micro moment. Magilla's goal is to be firing on all cylinders all the time so that our customers, banks, can be ready to respond to that micro moment via Magilla's platform, via its search engine. And that's the goal, is you can think of Magilla as somewhat of a common proposition. It's all of our customers, banks, getting together and subscribing to a software as a service to jointly put forth a very well streamlined interface, a search engine, so that borrowers will gravitate to that and ask Magilla the question that's on their mind at that one particular time. And customers, consumers, all of us are very, very comfortable and have come to expect some version of a search engine, some version of a comparison tool for almost everything we do, whether it be shopping for a car, shopping for an airline, shopping for a first-class ticket to London, what have you. I can search and slice and dice and compare a lot of things that are important to me from my phone or from my desktop. Chris Meyer and I simply want to do the same for our business and home loans. And that's what we built, and that's why we built it. Why accept comparison behavior? Because it's commonplace. It's going to happen. And sites like Magilla, sites like Kayak for airline tickets and others are providing the consumer that search that they're starting to demand and starting to expect. And what does a search engine do is drastically increase the efficiency of that search. And in our case, it's a two-sided win. I certainly win as the consumer because we built it. We built it for what we wanted. I wouldn't build something that didn't help solve my problem. I built something that solves my problem. But our true customer is the people on the phone. We want to be nimble. We want to be reactive. We want to keep our website perfectly optimized for Google's algorithms and search engines and bots so that borrowers coming to Magilla, an agnostic marketplace, can get an honest view of their options. And then Magilla helps our customers, the banks, present themselves in the most positive light possible as they see fit. We're presenting information on the bank, we're presenting information on the loan officer, and trying to give the consumer the information they need to make a choice. So our goal is to be nimble, to be fast, to be efficient, to be agnostic, and to then stop and hand that relationship off to the banks. Now, does that mean that an individual bank's website is not important? Of course not. Your website is important. People are going to still interact with your website. If they find you through Magilla, they're still probably going to look and see who you are. And Magilla is one of many ways to attract a customer. We're not saying that we're the only way. We're not saying that people are going to only come to us and not go to your website. What we are saying is what big banks like loanDepot have done is not easy. And it takes constant effort, money, and time. And it's difficult to keep up with. And Magilla is just one way to enhance your customer acquisition experience. So with that, I'm going to pass the torch over to Rocky, who I believe is going to talk about ways to, Rocky can help you with optimizing your own website as well.
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rocky Foroutan. I'm the founder and CEO of LenderHomePage.com. I do want to possibly get some help from Dustin to get my screen to show. Dustin, do you see my screen?
Yes, yeah, you're live.
Okay. And I'm trying to show the screen that actually has the slideshow on it. And let me know if you see the right screen now.
Yep, we see it.
Okay, great. Well, I wanted to first off thank you, John and Dustin, for inviting me to be on this panel. I'm honored to be on the same panel as Kamran and Dean. It's a great opportunity. And what I decided to do when we talked about the micro moments is to actually talk about a mortgage marketing strategy around micro moments. And I decided to title the presentation, Define, Create, and Seize Your Own Micro Moments as a Mortgage Company. So the agenda for the presentation, I was going to do a one-page slide on who LenderHomePage is and what we do, and then talk about some micro moment principles around which the strategy is going to be explained for the mortgage lenders, and then actually drill down into the strategy, which is define your micro moment, create it, and then ultimately seize that micro moment. So LenderHomePage, we are a provider of cloud-based digital mortgage platform, and we power lender websites, mobile apps, POS systems, as well as consumer-facing marketing campaigns. We're founded in 2003, and we have about 2,500 mortgage companies as our clients and adding about 100 on a monthly basis. These are companies that are small brokerage firms, maybe 5 to 10 to 25 loan officers, all the way to major banks and online lenders and credit unions. So we kind of cover the entire spectrum of mortgage companies. And our solutions, as they stand today, they basically enhance the consumer online mortgage experience. And I'll get into that a little bit later. We obviously streamline the mortgage process with our POS system, and that obviously increases the loan officer productivity and efficiency, and ultimately leading into a lender better return on investments and better profitability for mortgage lenders. So when we talk about micro moments, the term that Google has coined, to me, a micro moment is, if you were to build a marketing strategy around it, it's a consumer-centric marketing strategy, and it's based on the following principles. You know, consumers have a voracious appetite for answers and advice, as John said. They want it on demand. They want it right now. And, you know, they're always connected thanks to the smartphones, and that's why there is such a huge bias towards mobile. That's why micro moments is, I would say, 90–95% about mobile. It's not to say that you cannot have a micro moment at your desk, on your desktop or your laptop. That could still happen, but it is all about smartphones. It's all about you know, you being mobile and up and about and needing an answer on demand. And, you know, these consumers are looking for the best in everything they buy. In fact, the word best has shot through the roof in search queries by Google. It's what's the best mattress? What's the best Chinese food around me? People are, because it's only 4 letters. You tap the 4 letters and you get your answer. So you do want that. And back to what Dean was saying, it's all about comparisons. It's all about that. They do demand transparency, so you can't really, the days of hiding things is over. They do need to know how things work. You need to be transparent. They expect ease of use, and these consumers are very vocal as well as social about what they like and what they don't like. So you really have to take that into consideration when you're devising your micro moment strategy as a mortgage lender. So, and last but not least, they do make those buying decisions in those intent-rich moments. These are the same micro moments that, as mortgage lenders, we must capitalize on, and we help mortgage lenders do that. So I talked about define, create, and seize. So you have to first define your micro moment. What does a micro moment look to you as a mortgage lender? So in order for you to know that, you have to really know your target client. you have to know what your ideal target client looks like. That means, where does he live? Where is he geographically? That is huge. Everything about micro moments is about being local, right? You have to know the product interest of your ideal client. Is it a first-time home buyer couple that's trying to get into their first home? Is it a military family trying to get into a VA loan? I mean, what is it that your ideal client needs? You're gonna need to say, hey, my ideal client is going to be a above average credit, and he has to have certain income, employment. But what stage of the shopping process is your ideal client in? Are they just researching what's needed to buy a home, or what is it needed to pre-qualify, or how do they pick an agent, or are they ready to pull the trigger and they're looking for the best rates? That's where loanDepot comes in with their stuff sometimes, or Quicken Loans and rate tables and stuff. So what stage of the shopping process are they in? And what answers are they looking for? Because ultimately, we talked about these micro moments. These are very intent-rich moments where consumers are looking for answers. They're looking for ways to be helped in their journey, which is ultimately getting a product or a service, in this case, a mortgage, which is so service-oriented with a loan officer, because after all, it is all about them. So when you define your micro moment, it really is all about your target client. And Kamran talked about all the analytics that you can get from data and different places where, where was the IP address of this person, at what time of day was it, and then everything else about that person. So you want to try to get as much information as possible internally as a mortgage company and define who your target client is and what does a micro moment look to them. Once you've done that, then you get into the creating of that micro moment, because not everybody has the budgets of loanDepot, but we can use guerrilla marketing, and we can use different marketing tactics to do our share and try to create our micro moment. And I've put that into two parts. The first part is content. It's still content is still king, because we talked about the micro moments. This is when a borrower needs a piece of information or something to take that next step and inch closer to their ultimate need. So what they're really after on the information superhighway is that information, right? They need that content, the high value content. And as experts, we are a mortgage company, so we know what's needed for different consumer profiles. So we fill that with articles and blog posts, with educational videos, with ebooks, with PDF guides, even with live rates. That might be a content that someone is looking for. What's the best rate today, right? Comparison charts, infographics. And you have to keep in mind that this content has to be high value. It cannot be fluff. It has to be something meaningful to the user, and it has to really help them. Otherwise, it might actually have the inverse effect about your brand. And you want to come across as a mortgage company, you want to come across as the authority in the niche. If you're doing VA loans, you want to become as the authority in VA loans in your local area. So now, in creating your micro moment, part two, now that you have developed this great content, now you have to present it to the user. So how do you present it? There's all these channels that we've always talked about. So we've talked about organic search, local. That's all of what it's about. If you're optimizing your website, it has to be optimized around your local and the area that you serve. I'm going to get into that with a screen share. You also want to use long-tail keywords. You don't want to just say mortgage loans. You want to say, for example, best VA loans in Atlanta, Georgia, right? Or first-time homebuyer loans in Lexington, Kentucky. So it's all about making sure that you're very highly relevant to the searcher, and you establish that big fish in the small pond mentality. You also want to use semantic SEO techniques. That means you don't want to keep repeating the keywords that you think people are searching for. You really want to, at the end of the day, answer the questions that the consumer has, and you want to do that in a way that that the search engines are now processing it, because search engines are looking at the ways to optimize. I'm sorry, to answer the queries of the searcher. So what I have here, for example, just a couple of examples. I have this as a 150% view of an iPhone 8, for example. So I'm basically looking at an iPhone 8 screen, and I'm going to say, for example, something like best mortgage rates in Overland Park, Kansas. This is a micro moment because it has the word best in it. The guy is looking for the best mortgage rates at that moment on that day, and he doesn't want mortgage rates anywhere. He just wanted in Overland Park, Kansas, right? Or if he happens to be, his IP happens to be in Overland Park, Kansas, he doesn't need to type that in. But in any event, so when he searches that, as he scrolled down on the first page of the Google results, this is BNC National Bank is one of our clients. As you can see, that's how we have optimized their page, by putting local first, closest to the title, Overland Park Home Mortgage Loans, mortgage refinance rates in Kansas, and then it's all about Overland Park and that. Or if similar on best mortgage rates in Chino, California. This is our another major client of ours, Mountain West Financial, a large lender out on the West Coast. Again, Chino home mortgage loans. That's how we decide, because we know that when people are looking for mortgage rates and best rates, they are looking at local. So you have to make sure that you cannot overemphasize local. I put in email marketing because it's still, from a cost standpoint, it's still so effective in creating those micro moments. Just sending out the rates just dropped, or the rates just were hiked by the Fed, the county limits just changed, all of that stuff. As you get these emails to your list, and it's all about growing and pruning your list. Social media posts are again are becoming more and more important, and they're actually becoming an SEO signal for Google and how much traffic comes from social media. What we find that are very effective with social media posts are things that are very newsworthy and current. Again, like rate hikes or county loan limits, or things that have to do with, let's say, the new administration changes in FHA or HUD or whatever. It's relevant. And we find that video uploaded directly to the actual social media channel, for example, video uploaded directly to Facebook as opposed to a YouTube link, it's very effective. Paid search in social media, of course, is a bread and butter. It's a sure thing, per se. You are paying for your clicks, and it's very important for testing. It's also very important for very targeted direct response campaigns. And last but not least, the retargeting is an overlooked piece of presenting that micro moment to your user. The user has already been to your page once. You do always want to have complement things with retargeting, because that creates another micro moment at the right time, and it creates brand loyalty for you that tap onto that banner to get back to your page. And like everything else in life, a balanced approach would be a great way to have some organic search SEO optimization, do your email marketing, do the best practices in social media posts, do a little bit of paid search in social media for testing or even long term, and always definitely do the retargeting. And I'm going to go as fast as I can. The last leg of the strategy is, of course, seize that micro moment, win them over. So the micro moment is that golden window when the consumer uses the device to take that immediate action, because they have to find out or watch a video or call or buy. And Kamran went into a lot of details on his great presentation about landing pages, but we were on the front end, we're on the front line with these landing pages and conversion optimization. So everything that he said, it has to be mobile responsive for landing page. That's a given, because 95% of the micro moments are happening on mobile. You have to have the optimized form field, not too many, not too little. And you have to keep testing that, because maybe you're asking too much information and you're not giving back enough. You have to have a clear call to action. I think Kamran touched on that. It has to be something like, pre-qualify me or get me my today's rates. You can't just say submit or go or next. Those are not good call to actions. The call now button is key on mobile, and obviously A/B and multivariate testing. That's the beauty about digital marketing, is you get your response back right away. So you have to do the conversion optimizations on your websites as well as your landing pages. And reviews and transparency is very important. So you're spending all this effort to get people to your site. Make sure that they see your third-party reviews, your Better Business Bureau, all your badges, Zillow badges, and Lending Tree badges, and then all the disclaimers, NMLS, privacy policy. Believe it or not, is so important for people. You have to clearly have that link and make it available. And with all of that, I just wanted to tell you, I just want to put this last slide that 61% of the mobile users are likely to leave a site if it's not mobile friendly. That's staggering. And 48% of these users think that you don't even care about their business if your website is not mobile friendly. But with all of that, if you look at everything across the board, 55% of businesses don't have a mobile optimized website. Now that's changing in mortgage, very rapidly with the disruption of digital mortgage and all that point of sale stuff. But it's very important to make sure that you ultimately seize that moment once that is presented to you. And with that, I am done with my part of the presentation.
Wow, Rocky, thank you very much. That was incredibly informative. I appreciate that. And thank you, everybody, actually, Kamran, Dean, and Rocky. And, Rocky, you mentioned something that was very interesting. When you said 48%, I think it was 48% you said of mobile users think you don't care about their business if your site is not mobile friendly. Was that the statistic?
Yeah.
That's incredible. But it makes a lot of sense. If you stop on a site that's not mobile friendly, it does make you feel that way. So that makes sense. So at this point, I'd like to turn this over to our audience for any questions. I see a couple came through over here. First one here is for Rocky. Rocky, what is semantic search? Can you define that?
Yeah, so semantic search is ways of basically getting at the same subject matter, but not using the most commonly or common ways of asking it. For example, if you're looking to pre-qualify for a loan, and you're looking for guidelines for that, the way would be the most common way would probably be how much, what do I pre-qualify for, or what loan amounts do I pre-qualify for? But another way of saying it is how much house can I afford? A mortgage calculator, a mortgage payment calculator, home loan or payment for the house, or rent versus buy. So as you can see, there's so many different ways, or semantically different ways, to get at that same subject. And Google now has their bots trained on this AI that take the entire, the totality of the words on a page, and they will determine what the end goal of the content of that page is. So, and they're going more and more after that because of all of the vocal searches that is going on with Google. So they're taking all of that in, and they're incorporating a lot of that semantic, because people ask different way when they're talking rather than typing and so forth. So they're taking all of that in. So as a mortgage company, as you're doing your search engine optimization, or you're outsourcing it, or you're working with people who are doing it for you, you want to make sure to say, hey, make sure you don't forget about semantic SEO, because that's where Google is heading, is making it very, Google's mission at the end of the day is to be the most relevant answers to the searcher, right? That's their mission in life. So they want to be able to really answer what you're really asking, and they have a lot of AI engines, artificial intelligence engines that are working on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's
great information. Absolutely, I hear you. Good. One other question came in over here. Actually, this one is for Dean. Dean, do you think an element of search and compare is part of most micro moments?
Absolutely. I think when a consumer is searching for something, we are programmed now to do some sort of a comparison. I really do believe that people expect it. And I think it's a McKinsey Consulting survey said it was either 75 or 80% of consumers expect some form of a comparison in search when shopping. And I know you say the word shopping, and here we're talking about loans, but it's still relevant. I expect that comparison. I expect maybe I'm reading a blog or a rich form content that is comparing and contrasting. People love top 10 lists. You know, top 10, 65-inch LED TV. I mean, those things always do well on Google's search algorithms because it's a form of comparison. Somebody ranked something. Think about J.D. Power, you know, who's top 10 in J.D. Power. That's a form of comparison. And so, yes, I believe that people who are in the middle of a micro moment are really looking for some form of a compare and contrast.
Great. Thank you very much, Dean. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in at this point. So, Dustin, do you have a final screen that you can throw up with everybody's contact information? Okay, there you go. All right. Well, if you have any questions, of course, reach out to any one of us. We'd be thrilled to be able to speak with you. And, I think that our three truly magnificent speakers this morning have made it clear that micro moments can't be overlooked as part of your marketing strategy. And I want to thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And one last thing, we want to make sure that we do our best to deliver quality content. So I have a favor to ask of all of you. You'll be receiving a survey within about an hour. And if you could please take the time to fill it out to let us know what you thought of today's webinar. Really appreciate it. Also, if you have anything that you would like to learn about in future webinars, please let us know that as well. Thank you again, and everybody enjoy your weekends.